and the participants of this third plenary session. I, Dr. Saurabh Jain, Professor, Shri Vaishnav Institute of Computer Applications, Shri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya, welcome you all in this session of Sanmantrana 2022, a multidisciplinary international congress on reimagining the world, transforming challenges into opportunities. To start the session, I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Abhishek Singh Rathore, to introduce the chairpersons of this session. Abhishek, sir.
Good morning to all the respected dignitaries. It's my pleasure to introduce the chairpersons of the sessions. We have Dr. Anand Rajawat and Dr. G.H.S. Naidu, sir, of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya with us. Dr. Rajawat is a professor of Computer Science and Engineering, Department of and Director of Sri Vaishnav Institute of Information Technology of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya. He has been engaged in teaching, research, training and consultancy for the last 20 years. He obtained PhD in the Faculty of Computer Science and Engineering in the field of software engineering and Master of Engineering in Computer Engineering with specialization in software engineering from Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. Currently, he is also working as a visiting faculty in the St. Cloud State University, Minnesota, USA. Besides undertaking consultancy assignments, he has co-authored more than 100 publications. He has been on the panel of reviewers of the number of national and international journals. He has supervised 28 PG dissertations. He has attended more than 100 certifications, course, training workshops, and the faculty development program conducted by leading multinational and national IT companies. We have Dr. Naidu with us. Dr. Naidu has 42 years of experience in handling university library. He joined Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya in 2018 as a chief librarian. Prior to the joining of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya, he was university librarian at Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya for a period of 25 years. He is instrumental in the automation of DAV library system and introducing the ICT-enabled library services. DAV started the teaching program in the library and the information sciences after his joining. He is instrumental in organizing 15 refresher courses for the college librarians in the Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya. He is the resource person in the refresher courses in Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. He is also the member of the examination committees, board of studies, and selection committee members in the number of universities and MPPSC. He is the PhD evaluator and adjunctor in 10 universities. He has published more than 70 research papers in national and international research journals. I like to invite Dr. Rajawat for inaugural talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek, for the introduction. A very good morning to all. Chairperson of the session, Dr. G.H.S. Naidu, Head Library, SWB Indore. Speakers of the session, Dr. K Patak, Professor Emeritus, Department of Civil Engineering, IIT BHU Varanasi. Dr. S. Prakash, Vice Chancellor, DSNLU, Visakhapatnam. Dr. A. K. Kapoor, Professor and Head, Anthropology Department, Delhi University, Delhi. Dr. S. S. Prasad Rao, Professor Management, Sharda University, Greater Noida. On behalf of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya, I welcome you all in plenary session 3 of Sanmantrana 2022, a multidisciplinary international congress on reimagining the world, transforming challenges into opportunities. The COVID-19 pandemic has been sweeping the world by storm. Countless universities are opting for virtual commencements. This disruption is likely to leave a lasting impact on education long after the pandemic subsides. The current crisis creates both unique challenges and potential opportunities in the education sector. Prior to the pandemic, the importance of ICT in education had been growing on the radar of government and industry, with the last digital strategy for educational organizations a step in the right direction for driving technology use in the classroom. However, the event have accelerated the transformation of the sector beyond expectations. Approximately 1.1 million students across primary, secondary, and third level moved to remote learning practically overnight, bringing unforeseen challenges such as adequate access to digital devices for students at home. The barrier to enter the online education space is drastically declining as instructors are now forced to increase content that can be accessed exclusively online. Due to the pandemic, educators now have hands-on experience with educating slowly online, assignment creation and distribution, grading class participation, and exam proctoring, all using digital mediums. Universities can leverage this shift to expand online offering in the future, well after the pandemic subsides. As university consider expanding online offering, there are two main styles of online education they can explore: the traditional online style and the massive online open access courses, that is MOOCs courses. If we talk about the health sector, on the health front, the pandemic forced countries to revamp their system for COVID-19 vaccination. Investing time and resources that will help us strengthen also routine immunization and finally reach all the under vaccinated or the zero dose children who have never been vaccinated before. Countries have now higher capacities and better system in place to reach large population in a shortened time. Even in remote areas, have developed new risk communication and community engagement expertise to provide information, address hesitancy, and stimulate demand for vaccines. This is precious capital to build on the protect all children in the region from preventable disease and death. The journey is not complete. The system are still far from adequate to reach each single child in the region and fulfill all their rights. But this speed of innovation can be the basis for a momentous leap forward. As we start 2022, we must hold on to all we have learned and make the most of solutions that transformed our lives in the last 2 years. Now, without taking too much time, I end here. And once again, I welcome all the speakers of the session of plenary session 3. Over to you, Abhishek. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So the first speaker of this session is Dr. K Patak. Dr. K Patak is a professor and head of the Department of Architecture, Planning and Design, Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, BHU. He is doctorate in solid mechanics. He has also worked as scientist B level at SERC Ghaziabad, scientist C level at RRL Bhopal, scientist E1 level at AMPRI Bhopal, scientist E2 level at AMPRI Bhopal, and professor at NITTTR Bhopal. He is specialized in continuum mechanics, structural analysis and design, structural shape optimization, finite element analysis, cable layout design of pre-stressed concrete structures, building materials, and stability analysis. He is awarded with the George Oman Memorial Prize, IE India in 2004, the Metallurgical and Materials Engineering Division Prize, IE India in 2009, the EP Nipolides Prize, IE India 2011, and Master Trainer of TQMC in Technical Education, QCI New Delhi, and many more. He is an editorial board of many national and international journals and also has published around 65 papers in SCI journals, 137 papers in conferences, and 30 reports, and also 3 academic reports. He has worked in 8 R&D projects and 27 consultancy projects. He has also developed 12 softwares. 23 PhDs have been awarded under his supervision. So without taking more time, I would like to invite Dr. K Patak for his session.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction. Am I audible to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me share my slides, which I have prepared for this particular program. 1 second, please. Is it visible?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Oh, okay. So, very good morning, and thanks to all the dignitaries present over there, and the organizer for inviting me for this lecture. So, my topic is engineered affordable housing, and which is very relevant to your program. So, before I go, let us seek the blessing of the founder of the HU, Bharat Ratna Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya. And you know that he was from Malwa region, where you are there, and he came to UP, and the family settled in UP, and you see the great thing that people did. And in Varanasi, we have a lot of support from the Malwa. You know that's the Lord Shiva temple is also means constructed by by Devi ji, and then Malvi ji. So two dignitaries, two people from the Malwa, they have done a lot of service to the Varanasi. And now the temple is ready, so I invite all of you that if you come Varanasi, please visit BHU and the Kashi Vishwanath temple. So you know that I think most of you must be knowing the Bloom's taxonomy, and what Bloom's taxonomy and Maslow's hierarchy of the needs. So it says that the human being works based on the need. So whatever we do, there is some need, there is some requirement, and the basic is the physiological, where we food, shelter, all these things, rest. Then we go to safety type of needs. We need security. We need belongingness, and then esteem, and then on top self-realization and higher level of the need. And Indian context also we say that Arth, Dharma, Kam, Moksha. So these are the also the 4 parts, and these are the need based. And if you relate this Western psychology and our Indian psychology, so you see that the top 4 portion is your moksha, and we work on chart of need to artha and dharma and then moksha. This is the direction. Basic need is your shelter, which is the basic need, and housing is very much required there. So in this lecture, I will give you a glimpse that what are the scenario over there and how we can improve the quality of our construction. So you see that what is the engineered house and non-engineered house. So you can classify in different way. One is your materials, that if you are using the controlled size material, quality control is there, then it is called engineered house. And if you are using local material where there is no quality control, it will be non-engineered. Construction workers, here non-skilled will be there, but in engineered will be skilled. Technical intervention will be very less, and engineered it will be quite high. And users, lower middle income, basically lower middle income, they try to live in the non-engineered type of house. And MIG, HIG, they prefer engineered house. So you see, this is a type of non-engineered house. You can say that. Similarly, these old buildings, they have been constructed on masonry, and there is no provision of the engineering over there. They have made based on the intuition. And this is the building. You see that columns are made of the brick, so there is no ductility, and this may be prone to the earthquake. But these are houses. You see that in our country they are prevalent. Everywhere you can find. So this is the data, old data, but you see that if you see the contribution of the non-engineered house, it is quite high. And if you see based on the material and based on the things, then you can see the contribution of the non-engineered house in our country is very, very high. Okay, so based on the hazards prone there, we have to improve and we have to bring it to the engineered house. Now the building sector growth, if you see that, it is having a tremendous growth. From 2005 to 2030, it is expected that growth will be almost 8%. And in next 20 years, 20 billion square feet concreting will be this thing it will be there. So you can say from 22 it will be 100. So you see that the jump is there. And everywhere, if you go to our cities, you see urbanization is taking place at a very, very fast pace. So we have to now means quality conscious. We have to be quality conscious. So urbanization, if you compare with other country, we are right now, India is below Brazil, Mexico. And so our, you see, this is the percentage we have. And it is expected that in 2025, our urbanized population will be 38%, where China is 64, will be 64%. So they are going with very fast pace. And in our case, you see that by 2050, our urban population would become higher than the rural population. Right now, we are here, but you see that the pace is so high that time will come then when urban population will surpass. And area is very small. You see that in comparison to the rural areas. So how we are going to make the affordable housing for this? And this is the gap, demand and supply gap. So it is always there, and we have to minimize it. So this is the other classification statistics where you can see that how the low income group is there. So now you see that low income is getting lower and lower. You see that. So it is the middle income which is rising, and low income is now reducing. So it means that people may have the chance to get affordable housing. This is the data which tells about the billion-dollar projects which the countries are having. And in 2015, India was having the highest project, $824 billion USD. You can see this is the type of project, construction project was going on in our country. And anywhere you go in any city, you will see that huge amount of road work or building work. So infrastructure facilities are being created in a very big way. This is the scheme by 2022, the Housing for All, urban housing, and in which the government want to provide affordable housing to every person in the urban areas. And for this, I think you may be knowing that the schemes are there, and we have to provide create 2 crores houses for the urban people. Okay, so this work is going on, and here on the affordable rate. Okay, assistance range from 1 lakh to 2.3 lakh by the government. So as the space is going being very less, so we have to go to multi-story building because we don't have horizontal space. So vertically we have to move, and when you go to multi-story building, you need to design it for different forces, earthquake, wind, and that has to be engineered design. Now you cannot go with the non-engineered building. At the same time, cost has to be minimum. So how you are going to meet out? So for the EWS, the area what it tells that it should be minimum 300 square feet, and for low income it will be, you see that 500, and for middle income this is the area has been decided based on their income. And home loan installment should not exceed 30 to 40% of the gross monthly income of the person. So this is the affordability has been decided, so that everybody can have the house. Means if income is less than 1.5 lakh per annum, then it is EWS, it is in the range, it is LIG, and it is this range, then it is. So this is the scheme what government had proposed, that it should not EMI should not be more than 30 to 40% of the income. So after some time, the person will have their the people will have their own house based on this way. Construction is basically the process of creating and building infrastructure or facility, and you know that it differs from the manufacturing, where you do the mass manufacturing, mass production. But in the civil engineering part, every construction is unique. So we don't have any mass construction. Each and every project is different. And construction as an industry is 6 to 9% of the GDP of the developed country, and we are also trying to get that, reach that data. So you see everywhere construction works are going on. Now, when you go to the multi-story building, you have to talk about the loads, which we never talk about the low-rise building, one-story, two-story building, like the settlement load, thermal load, earthquake, wind, dynamic. So now design will be totally different. Materials will be totally different. You cannot go with the local level material. It has to be high strength material. When the concrete, what you are going to do, use it, that will be high strength, means strength will be at least M25, 30. And these are the, you see that the damages which has been done to non-story building by the natural hazards. So you see earthquake, if building is not properly designed, this is the fate of the building. So settlement load is also very common. If you see your region, Malwa region, where Indore, we have the black cotton soil, and there are a lot of settlement problem everywhere. Because I have been to Madhya Pradesh for more than 16 years, so I have seen those soil strata. So different area, part of our country have different challenges, and we have to do something for that. So this is an example of the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which is because of the settlement, unequal settlement. Because time is very less, so I will be a little fast. Building materials, you know that we need building materials and in time, because these projects are time bound. So we have to complete the project in time, and money is also restricted, time is also restricted. So only way is that we have to maintain our quality. So for maintaining the quality, we have to choose the right material and right quality of the material. So basically today I will talk about the material and how to determine their quality, very quick way to determine the quality. So this is the construction material. You see that what people have been using from 10,000. Since 10,000 we are using stones, mud and sun-dried brick before fire was discovered, then burnt clay about the 6,000 year back. And you see that the concrete came very late, 1824, and then plastics, and now the composites. So these are the history of the building materials. And common materials, we use stone, brick, cement, aggregate, concrete. So these are the materials now we are using, and some composites also are now available. So those who are making any construction of the stone, what quality cautious we should be about the stone buildings, which are very common in areas where abundant stones are available. So we generally check the two things for the stone construction. Only one is your strength and other is your durability. So in strength also you see that there are various type of stones. Those who have studied the rock mechanics or building materials, you know that n number of stones are there, and every stone has different texture, different microstructure, and based on that strength vary. And then durability, that it has to, you know, stone buildings can last more than 10,000 years. Pyramids and other monuments, you can see that they are lasting. So this is the highest durable material. And how to check? Only two checks are there. Here we measure the strength in your lab, so you can make appropriate cubes and do the testing. And for durability, we check the water absorption. It should not be more than 5%. And if we make these two tests, we can ensure that my construction will be durable. So as I was mentioning, granite, basalt, sandstone, marble, and these are the strength given specified in the code. So it should not be less than 100 megapascal in case of granite. So these things we should ensure that if it is given granite, we have to do the testing. Generally, we skip the testing. We are reluctant to go to the lab. But if you want quality, then we have to go to the lab and ensure before the construction that what are the material we are using, whether they have that quality or not. Coming to the bricks, you know, nowadays bricks masonry is not very common. Bricks are only used for partition purpose. And for high-rise building, you cannot go for brick masonry. So in case of your partition and cladding, special cladding sometimes is required. So we need to check the quality of the brick in several ways. And one thing I will bring to your notice that you see damping in the houses. Many times you see that there are a lot of damping near the your toilets, near to your kitchen where water is there. So this is because of the poor quality of brick. So brick, how to check? Funny thing is the color. So by seeing the color, you can see that this is the overburn brick and this is the good quality brick. Then sound. So we have to use our senses properly. So sound, if you strike two bricks, you will get a metallic sound. So that is one thing. Then water absorption, we can do the water absorption of the bricks, and bricks will absorb more water than the stone, but it should be less than 15%. So these are, and other thing is called efflorescence, where the white, you can see white layers are deposited on the brick when they absorb the water because of the salt. So that is very common in our areas in UP. I've been there in some projects, so we see that a lot of this problem is there. And this continuously it will keep your building damp. So we have to remove those type of brick before using them. So we should not, we should discard if this problem, if fluorescence is there. I think those who have studied building material, this thing has been was there. So this is the test we do in the lab for fluorescence, and then we check that after 24 hours after drying, if there is white patches, it means there is efflorescence. So the fluorescence is measured as serious, heavy, moderate, slight, and nil. So if it is slight and nil, we can go with construction. Otherwise, we have to do the. But those old buildings which have been made, now we have to do the treatment. So there are some acid treatments, how to remove fluorescence if it is already being used. So those are costly affairs, but now things are there by which we can rectify it. Cement, you know that we get from the companies, so there is no problem. Quality is good, but only thing is that there are some adulteration which people mischievously are doing. So that thing we have to check. And cement, you know that it 1824 it was invented in England. So field test, we have to see the date of packing. If it is older than 3 months, the strength will be very poor. So we have to see that cement is not made more than before 3 months. Color, we have to see the color also. Rubbing, if you do the rubbing, it will give the cool feeling to you, and there will be no grit. Insertion will give the cool feeling. Float test is also there, that it should sink but should not float on the surface. If there is some adulteration of the clay, then it will smell like earth, and presence of lump, other things. So these are the very, very simple tests that we can do by our hand or by eyes. And for quality, these things we have to know. But data packing in rainy season, it should be consumed as early as possible because it will absorb the moisture and strength will go down. So these are the various tests that we can do, rubbing in the hand and float test. Then several other lab tests is there where you do the setting time, soundness test. These are the apparatus, consistency test. So these things we should do on the cement. For the costly project, bigger projects, we have our own labs, PMC. Their labs are there on the site, and regularly for each batch testing are carried out. Then coming to the aggregate, this is the 75% of the concrete or 70% of the concrete is made of aggregate. But we give very less attention on the aggregate. Because of that, there are so many problems and poor quality of concrete is there. Cement is only 10% or less than 10%. Major part is aggregate, but we pay very less attention to that. So one thing is your gradation and proper gradation of the aggregate. If not there, then there will be no packing and there will be pores, honeycomb, and all those issues will come. So one thing is that the deleterious material, the many times we see that there are grass, there are rubbers, there are so many things are there in the aggregate and people start using that. They even don't bother to remove them. So these are the things: coal, clay lamp, soft fragments. So all these things, impurities, what are there, we have to properly remove it. Code says, goes to extend that it should be cleaned. So without having the poor quality of aggregate, we cannot expect for good quality of aggregate, we cannot expect good quality of concrete. These are the what I was mentioning, that your sieve analysis, gradation, and this thing we have to ensure that if we are using 20% aggregate, then it should pass 85 to 100% from the 20 mm. We should not use 40 mm bigger than this. So these are the quality checks that we have to regularly make. Many times when I go to site, I get that they are having the coarser aggregate, more than 20 mm. Now you cannot expect the quality, because there will be always pores. How much sand you will fill to you will add to fill the pore, fill those voids. So similarly for the fine sand, we have to ensure that it is grade 2, zone 2, and there you see 600 micron, it should be 35 to 60%. That we have to ensure. But if it is not there, if it is zone means coarser or finer, then accordingly we have to compensate by cement. So there are adjustments. I think those who have done mixed proportioning, you know that we have to make adjustment. So bulking of sand, many times when rains are there is bulking in the sand, and bulking can be as high as 30%, but people ignore it and they add extra water. Although there is water, but they add extra water, and which create the poor quality of concrete in terms of the strength. So bulking, we have to see that if there is bulking, then we have to compensate in the water. So this was all about the bulking. Now coming to the concrete. So concrete, you know that if you have to maintain the quality of the concrete, then you have to maintain the 5 things: proportioning, mixing, placing, compaction, and curing. So in all these stages, we have to ensure the quality. Otherwise, you cannot get a good quality of concrete. So any relaxation this there, lacuna is there anywhere, it will result in the poor quality of concrete. So mixing we have to do in the mixer. Now the course says that it should be in proper mixer. And there are various type of mixer, tilting type and all those things. So we have to ensure that for our project. And then curing of concrete. So batching we have to do in the mixer. And then curing, proper curing, it has to be there. Otherwise strength deterioration will be very high. So at least 7 days curing must be there. It should be extended to 14 days, but at least first 7 days curing has to be properly there. Otherwise, this research says that if there is no curing, you see that there will be loss of 30% of the strength will be lost if there is no proper curing. Then for the checking of the quality of this concrete, we have to do the test. This is your compression test. So either it will cylinder or cube. Or tensile test, you can do our split test, or flexure test. So these are the various tests. And workability, one thing I forgot to mention, that we have to ensure the workability. So slum test and other water compaction factor or VB test is there. We have to perform to see that slump is properly there or not. So because we are going for affordable housing where we will be using high grade of concrete. So if concrete is not of good quality, you cannot expect our durable structure to be durable. So these are the things. Now, in case there is any doubt or any quality check you want without doing any destruction, then there are a set of tests which is called non-destructive test, where you don't damage the specimen, and we do this test on the structure itself. So these are the simple tests. One is your rebound hammer test. So I think you may be knowing. So this is based on the hardness testing of the surface, and it will give a convert into the strength. So this test is quite common. We also do this test. So this is a simple test where it is based on the impact of the soil, this mass, which is the impact, and give a number which is called rebound number. And based on the rebound number, you can know the quality of your concrete. Although there is some error, 20% it may be error, but it will give a good, means you can, well before you can know that there is some problem and you can rectify it. Then other test is called ultrasonic pulse velocity, which is again like ultrasound, what doctors do on our body. So we send the sound wave in the cube specimen and try to see what is the time. So there are two sensors. One is here, transmitter and receiver, and we see that how much time it takes from travel. So you see there are various ways: direct test, semi-direct test, and indirect test. So on road, if you want to test the roads, because we use very high quality of concrete in the road construction, so the only way is that we can go for the indirect test. So we see the travel time, and based on the travel time, we calculate we know the length of this specimens. We can calculate the velocity, and the velocity is about 4.5 kilometer per second. It is good, and if it is less than 3 kilometer per second, it is a doubtful concrete. So based on these checks, tests, we can also improve our quality. You see that these are the type of congestion. You see when you go to high-rise building, a lot of steels will be used, and there will be huge congestion. So many times people who are not expert, they don't provide proper cover. So many things, what we do on the site, they govern the quality. Design is very good. It has been done on the one of the best designer, but if things are not converted on the site, then it will result in a very poor quality of construction. So all these things, even the codal 456 basic norms, what is given in IS 456, many people have inquired, they don't know that idea. They don't. So they don't provide the proper lab and development length, proper cover. So these things we have to train to our. So that's why your institute is very renowned institute and very old institute, and you have always produced the very talented students. So basic knowledge, I think I will request that you provide the basic knowledge of IS 456, so that they should, you take them to site and show them that how we have to ensure the classes specifications of the IS 456. Then there are rebar locator. If you have doubt that what type of bar was used in the concrete and what is the cover, then there is a locator which will ensure that what was the diameter of the bar used. So this is the many times there are court cases. Somebody says I have used 16 millimeter bar, and one says that it was 12 millimeter bar. So by rebar locator you can get that. This is a very latest test we call cut and pull out test. So it is very accurate, and here we ensure we want to we get the very good this thing value of the strength of the concrete. So basically here we do the pull out, and pull out is supposed to be the best way to get the strength of the concrete. But this is a very costly affair. It takes about 2,000 per test. That's why we don't recommend it much. But if there is a specialized case, then we go in for this type of testing. So here we get a direct idea that what is the pull force, and based on that we are able to calculate the compressive strength of the concrete. So this is the way that there will be pull, and once you pull out, it will come as a form of a cone. So based on this surface area, there is a formula given. You can calculate what is the strength of the concrete. So then in case of the roads, and we do some semi-destructive test, which is called core test. So we go to the site and bring a course. So these course, they give very accurate result, but only thing that it opens some space which you have to fill it by epoxy or something. So this core test is very common in case of the road construction. So this is the core cutting machine, and we get the core and do the compression testing in the lab. So this is the core you see, and you know that how the aggregate distributions are also there. So everything, and we do the compression test and get the compressive strength. So now the last part come to my lecture is that corrosion. It is one of the biggest issue, and it is like a cancer to the concrete. So if there is any open space where water and air can come in contact with the reinforcement, it will start corroding. And as you know that corrosion, after corrosion, the ferrous oxide, its volume is very high. So it will try to press the concrete, and there will be spalling of the concrete. So as long as it is reinforcement is embedded in the concrete, which is having the pH of 13, there will be no harm to there will be no corrosion. But once the pH goes down by deterioration, by acids and by the gases, nearby industrial areas will be there. So because of that, the pH of the concrete is a very high alkaline material. But if its pH comes below 10, then there is chance of the corrosion. So that we have to check, and as early as possible we have to remove it. So there are various tests for the corrosion, and half cell potential meter, I think you knowing this is one very good test. So to get the potential, and based on that we can get that how much area is corroded. So if it is more than this voltage, then it is 90% probability that there is no corrosion, and if it is 0.35 V, then there is full corrosion. So this is the area we can come to know that how much part is corroded. Okay, so by this contour map is there, and we can get the pH of the of the concrete and corrosion. So this is the part, and we have to now rectify it, repair it. So you see that because of the it gets reduced, and that we have to repair. Now, one part is that green building. I think this is already you people know that nowadays we are talking about the green building. Isanjar, na? So green building is uses less water, less energy, less resources. So that building is called a green building. And you see that 36% of the total energy and 65% of the electricity is used by building. 30% of the greenhouse gases are used by the building. So you see that it is highly the carbon emission is done by the buildings, and we have to take care of this. Otherwise, we cannot achieve the this thing environmental issues. So building is one major part, and in this direction, a lot of work has been done. Green construction of the building. I think regularly you people, you are one of the environment conscious city. I think you are number one for many years in environment. So you know much better. And Indore has done a lot of remarkable things, which has been appreciated even the worldwide. So I don't have to tell much. But the only thing that our impact is to be energy efficient and waste minimization. All these things we have to look while planning up our buildings. So these things that how are we going to improve this structural efficiency, energy efficiency, water efficiency, and waste efficiency. So structural efficiency means that you have to the light jala then. So we have to minimize the total environmental impact associated with life cycle. So durable structure if you make, then it will be you see that it will be structural efficiency that whatever the expected time, 50 years of the time or 75 years of the time is there, building should last. Nowadays, what is happening within 10 years, there are cracks, there are issues are there. So it is again putting a this question mark against our structural efficiency. Then energy efficiency very much important. That building should consume minimum energy. And nowadays you see solar panels and all these things are there, and so that you use the less energy. Natural light should be there. So all these issues are there by which we can reduce our dependency on the carbon-based energy. Then water is the biggest problem. Many areas of the world they don't have much water. So you see nowadays people are saying that 100 liter water is only per person per day. So these are the things, and they have also given that how much water which part will consume, which for which activity it will be used. So in water you see that this is from some city. This is I think some African city is there where they are saying that 50 liters per day. Okay, 50 liters. Cape Town. I think this is from Cape Town where water scarcity is very high. And they have given that 15 liter per shower, 3 liter for general hygiene. So this type of things now they are saying that you should use only 50 liters. So we have to keep our planet clean, and in this direction that we have to change our habits, and we should not waste any of the energy, because this is very limited, and for these are the things you can say for the coming generations. If you consume everything, then what will be left for the coming generations? So we have to be very cautious. We should not waste. And when the students they are listening, whenever you go out of your class, try to put off the lights, fans, everything. That has to be. Nobody will teach you in the class, but it is our duty. If you see anywhere there is wastage of energy, please go and do it. This is leadership, and I encourage my students that you be leader. Everything will not be told in the class. So you see that 50 liters, you see such a small amount, and in our country people waste 50 liters like anything. So material efficiency, we have to use the materials which are locally available, so that dependency on the travel and this transportation is reduced. So these are the other things that we have to use local type of material. Previously people used to have local materials, but now in the industrialization we are using material which is made from some other place, and then your repair and other things we are dependent on those materials. So as far as possible, we should go for the local type of material, so that in case of your repair and rehabilitation, local mason, local people can work. So there are certification. I think you may be knowing that in India, Indian Green Building Council is there, and which provide the lead rating, and which okay, so it's certified. Then silver, there are 3-4 category. One is your certified. It gives that best practice you are performing towards the green building. Then silver for outstanding performance. Then gold and platinum. So these are the ratings. And we have to save our planet, so we have to reduce the dependency. Green building projects worldwide, if you see that we are the third in ranking at present in number of the projects. So you see that we are, I think 1 or 2 year back data is there. So our projects are also increasing day by day. And you see that what says that there will be 10 million square feet built-up area will be of the green building, will be that of green building. So this is the growth of the green building, how this is growing, certified and pre-certified. So this is the one data. There are various projects in our country, Pune, Bangalore, Chennai cities. I think in Indore is not here, but I think some projects must be there in Indore also. You may be knowing better. So green building projects are now coming up everywhere in our country. So this is the prediction that building appliance can reduce 1.6 gigaton CO2. So you see that 1.6 gigaton CO2 we can, okay, appliances can reduce, and by 2050 it can be 7 gigatons. So we can do, huge scope is there. And even you see that in our construction, one thing I could not mention, fly ash. What is the fly ash waste material is there? We are using in big way in cement manufacturing and in brick manufacturing also. So we are using a lot of waste material also in our construction. So this is the one area where we can make our planet very neat and clean. So this is the biggest service we can do for the planet. So this is the Chennai Tech Park building looks like. This is Hyderabad building. So now coming to the end, after 75 years of the independence, we have yet not been able to provide engineered affordable housing to our citizens. To achieve this goal, various massive plans have been taken up by the government. Characterization of building materials and adaptation of green building concept will ensure the quality, safety, and durability of the mass construction. Houses such construction will be long-lasting, economical, and will fulfill the dream of the people. So with this, I have come to the end of my lecture. Finally, I will quote the father of engineering, Dr. Sir M. Viswesvaraya ji, and what the message he gave to us: to give real service, you must add something, which cannot be bought or measured with money. So something we have to do, which we should not look in return, that I will get this benefit of this. So this is the biggest service as an engineer we can do to people. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your knowledge with us. The next speaker of this plenary session is Professor Surya Prakash.
Saurabh,
Yes.
there was a question to Professor K Patak.
Okay. Please carry on. Please.
See, it is from Sudhanshu Dubey. You can see in the question and answer.
Okay, sir. Okay. Can you, Saurabh, can you tell me what is his question? What Sudhanshu is asking?
Just a minute, sir. Sir, I can read it for you. Sudhanshu Dubey, sir,
Please.
is asking, sir, in one core test on the road, what is the minimum number of cores we have to take in 1 kilometer length of road?
In 1 kilometer, I really don't remember at present, but IRC has given. IRC, if you see that in testing, I don't know how much course, but this is specified. Please read that how many course you have to cut, because you cannot cut so many course.
Right.
So there are minimum numbers. I actually don't remember, but it is mentioned in IRC.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for a nice session. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Saurabh, sir, please continue.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So next speaker for this session is Professor S. Surya Prakash. Professor Surya Prakash is a professor of law, dispute settlement process. He has been serving as Vice Chancellor of Damodaram Sanjeevayya National Law University, Visakhapatnam since December 2018. Prior to this, he has served as Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra National Law University, Aurangabad, Maharashtra, and Professor of Law at NLIU Bhopal, MP. He has more than 25 years of experience in academics. He has worked as lecturer and principal DNR College of Law, Bhimavaram, Andhra Pradesh, faculty member of NUJS, Kolkata, and principal Law College, Nanded, Maharashtra, before joining NLIU Bhopal. Professor Surya Prakash is prolific writer and wrote several contemporary issues. He is also author of Turning Point, The Story of Law Teacher, the bibliography of Professor N.R. Mahadeva Menon, which is also the story of National Law School movement in India. He has edited 2 books on critical issues on international commercial arbitration and perspectives on meditation. He wrote 25 articles on various subjects, including bonded labor, child labor, trade unions, sexual harassment of women at workplace, Indian judiciary system, plea bargaining, meditation, international commercial arbitration, human rights, and repeated law journals. He presented for more than 40 research papers in various national and international seminars and conferences. He also did projects for DFID GVT on interstate migrant labor 2007, involved in report writing of project on access on justice 2009 for High Court of MP. He was also the chairperson of Center for Business and Commercial Law and the faculty in charge ADR cell of NLIU Bhopal. His area of interest include ADR, international commercial arbitration, labor laws, business laws, and health laws. Now I invite Professor Surya Prakash for this session. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Okay. So good morning, Saurajan.
Good morning
to all. Good morning to my friend, Dr. T.K. Mandal. Professor Vishal and Professor Kapoor, and all the participants, teachers, colleagues, and student friends. Thank you for giving the opportunity. I would like to share a few thoughts on the contemporary issue of illegal immigrants, particularly in the light of the Rohingya crisis. So what is the law? What is the flaw? And where we stand, and who are the parties, and what are their arguments? And today, what is in the store, particularly in the light of the national security. So a few days back, if not few days, few months back, we read in the newspapers the havoc caused by the Bangladeshi illegal migrants in Greater Noida. So how they have harassed the local people and conducting the prayers in the streets, and then the servant maids, and doing physical violence on the local public. And so now we have the Rohingya crisis in the sense that these illegal immigrants, and we know as usually, right from the attack on Sindh by the invaders, at the time, the emperor was Raja Tahir, the Sindh emperor. So for a long time, for many days, the Arabs, they could not win the battle. And ultimately, what happened, they gave some gold coins to the fort keeper, and they bribed, and ultimately the fort gates were opened, and that was the first instance. And why I have this was a reference not made by me only. If anyone can look at the Constituent Assembly debates, and particularly the speech of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the chairman of the drafting committee, after submitting the draft constitution to the Constituent Assembly, where that was his last speech. That was the last speech of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. It was on 24th November 1949. There he has referred this, now what I said. So the invasion on India started how? With corruption and with bribery. So why I have referred this incident was that since then, it was sometime in 8th century, 787 or something like that. I'm not quite sure about the year. 8th, 9th century. It was the first invasion on the western borders. So since then, we have the traitors in every empire, every emperor, all great empires, great emperors, they lost the battles because of the betrayal, because of the traitors, because of the corruption. So even now, the same tradition is continuing. So if we pay some money, the gates are opened, and India is, in those days, it was the invasions. Today, the invasion is the illegal migrants. So my intention is very clear, my objective is very clear with this one instance. But being a man, what mother teaches. So being a republic, whether a nation should accept, should invite the immigrants. Undoubtedly, in the past, the kings of India, they gave shelter to Parsis when they were persecuted in in Iran, and we gave shelter to them. We gave shelter to the Jews, and Jews, if at all there is any region or country where they were not persecuted, it was only India. It is not told by me, it was also told by the Jews, eminent scholars and historians. The only country where they were not persecuted. So, in times of need and necessity, India has exhibited its humanity, and there are a series of people, foreign invaders, they came, and ultimately they settled and they mixed with. But the turning point in the history of India, it was 1947. So why it is a turning point? Because a particular India was divided, that's one thing. And the basis for division, it was not on, because they have different story, different freedom struggle, because rest of India has a different freedom struggle. But under the leadership of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, he declared, even though India was ruled by the Mughals, and before that Lodis, before that Sultanate, and various foreign invaders had ruled almost for 750, 800 years of a different religion. But it was Jinnah who declared that we cannot live with you, the majority. Our culture is at stake. Our traditions are at stake. Our religion is in danger. That's how he has instigated, and he convinced the people of both that partition of India is a must on the basis of religion. And within 25 years or so, it was proved that the theory, the two-nation theory based on religion, is false, in the sense that religion is not the only thing that will bind together. So, because why we should have an introspection? Because the majority community, to say Hindus, and when we say Hindus, it includes Buddhists, Jains, others also. We lived under the Sultanate, we lived under the Mughals, we lived under various kings, emperors, and we, at times, in the majority community, they were persecuted for their faith, but still, they never asked for a separate country or a separate nation. And here, we have to understand, as we know that a nation is different from a country. A country is geographically a place. It is called India is a country. India is a Bharat, is a nation. It was there for the last 2000 years or even times immemorial. Because if you say Bharatavarsha, means it is in Treta Yuga, it is in Dwapara Yuga, and we can't exactly decide whether what is the millennium, whether it is 5,000 years, 10,000 years, 15,000 years. So the country is the mass. The mass geographically, it is called a nation. And when we call a nation, nation means having different, today the political state, land has certain features, the nation has certain features. It is not mere land. There should be people, there should be government, and there should be all the systems in place, whether it is judicial system, whether it is a governance. It will have its population with their traditions, with their cultures, and with their literature, with their art, architecture, and some of all these considered as a nation. Every nation will have its own culture, diversity of culture, you may call it, or you may call it composite culture, but definitely will have majority people will have their own culture, their own notions, their own literature, their own faith, etc., etc. So here, what is the problem? If we allow the immigrants indiscriminately, what are the problems to India? Or is it for the comforts? Suppose America is inviting people from all over the world, and it is the immigrants who enriched United States, but it's having its own restrictions. It invite only scholars. It will invite only the what you call technicians. It invite professionals. So it has its own being a nation. United States also it's called a nation of nations, but still it has its own reservations in allowing the people. So because of the European countries, they're allowing immigration. Most of these European nations earlier, they had their colonies, whether it is UK or whether it is France, whether it is Holland, whether it is Germany. Maybe the European Union, as the process of penance, because for hundreds of years they have committed all kinds of atrocities while on their colonial nations. So probably that may be the reason, what may be, because of their liberal values, they are inviting the immigrants, but they are also facing there, because when the immigrants, they come in influx in large numbers, in millions, and this is also one of the reasons for Brexit. Brexit is not merely for economic reasons. The undercurrent reason what the British has, because Britain is one of the richest nations. Why? Because they have taken away. So as per Shashi Tharoor and as per many economists, they have looted India for more than 200 years, and hundreds of trillions of pounds of wealth is accumulated. And that's the reason why UK is providing so many welfare measures to its people, whether it is unemployment pension or whether it is a free housing or whether it is a free health, and free housing also depending upon the number of children. So because of these free measures, and under the European Union, what I understood, that is the borderless states, because if one could enter into any European nation, he could freely travel and settle in any nation in the European Union. So that's where the entry point is very easy in Germany or in some other country. People are entering into the European Union, and ultimately they are landing and they are settling in United Kingdom. So because of the facilities, because even if you don't work, you will get the unemployment pension. Even the right to employment is not a fundamental right, but the UK is taking care of its people. That's how the large influx of the immigrants, particularly people who are not willing to own the culture of the UK. So how to stop this immigration? Staying in the European Union, it is not possible for the Britain to reject the immigration from other European countries. So initially they will enter into Germany, or they will enter into France, or enter into some other European nation. Ultimately they will land, they will make UK as their home. So in order to prevent, in order to restrict the entry of these illegal immigrants, with whom there is a demographic change in the number of cities, and these illegal immigrants, after becoming immigrants, they are excelling in the politics, and they are becoming, and ultimately a day, the Britain has reconsidered, realized that this is going to be a threat. This demographic change is going to be a threat to its culture, to its values, to its traditions, etc., etc. So they thought that it would be much better if they come out of this European Union and as some of my friends told me that this was, of course, economic reasons are different, because economically, if Britain loses or gains a few million pounds or even a billion pounds, it won't make much difference for UK because of its very large economy and very large reserves of gold and other material, other wealth. So this is how each country has its own way of dealing with these immigrants. So after realizing now America is also restricting the illegal immigration, and it is looking for the quality of the people. America is not interested in giving citizenship to green card to each and everyone. It wants to give to the scientists, to the doctors, to the engineers, to the technicians who can contribute to its economy, but not to each and everyone, useless fellows. So that means what I mean to say is that each country has its own policy for immigration. So nowadays, as the advertisements showing, it is easy to immigrate to Canada. Canada is looking for some population or increase its population. And similarly, Australia. So like this, if you look at the country, each country has its own priorities in allowing the foreigners. So foreigners in the sense that for full settlement. So in India, what is the policy of the India? And when these Rohingya immigrants, and before that, if we look into, let us not go into this historical reasons and how this immigration or the invaders, they came, they defeated, they lost, and ultimately they settled. And whether it is Huns or whether it is so many races has come, and ultimately they settled in the Indian society. Today we can't distinguish who are these Huns or this fellow or that fellow, but there is some race. After that, they maintain their identity, they maintain their race, they maintain their tradition, culture, and ultimately they also said that we can't live with you, and they got their separate nation under the leadership of Jinnah. And also, when there was a dilemma whether to partition India or not, he has given the call for direct action day. And what happened, that direct action day, I think 14th August 1946, what happened in the streets of Calcutta and what happened, we all know. So from that day onwards, India is facing this problem of illegal immigration ever since its independence. So the partition has saw a lot of, we can't say it is immigration, but it's a migration of population. So millions, they left India, millions of Muslims, they went to Pakistan, and millions of Hindus, Sikh, Jains, Buddhists, they came to India during the time of partition. And it said that there was a lot of bloodshed, and almost 1 million people, they died in the communal clashes. So the Pakistan, which is considered as a land of pure, which was a demand by Mr. Jinnah, they got it. And so since then, the migration, legal and illegal, and as such, India has an open mind in inviting the migrants. But today, in 21st century, where our population, in those days, the population was, at the time of independence, it was only 33 crores. And today it is 133 crores. Just 1 more billion has added right from 1946 to 2021. And the land mass, it was the same. There was no enhancement or increase in the land mass, but whereas the population has increased. And if we keep on adding the population, where it will end, and also the food crisis, the employment crisis, the economic crisis, and above all, the security crisis. So that's the reason why, what is the legal position? And recently we have seen 2019, 2020, when the government of India has come up with an amendment, CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act, where it has restricted the entry to a particular communities. That is from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. Only communities that is persecuted, the Hindus, the Muslims, the Hindus, Christians, Buddhists, Jains, and Jews, because of the persecution in their own countries, that is in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Bangladesh. If they are persecuted, the India says that the amendment says that if they come to India within 5 years, they will get the Indian citizenship. Normally, for naturalization of any other person under the Citizenship Act, one has to reside here for 11 years or so. And the time limit was reduced, number one. Number two, this amendment has recognized only certain communities as communities persecuted in their own countries. So this has created a problem. So why only such privilege to Hindus, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, and Parsis? Why not to Muslims? Why not to Muslims? This was the, so this is a violation of Article 14, equality, or this is a communal, and this is not, this is against Universal Declaration of Human Rights, so on and so forth. Various other allegations were also made. And what is the, this is against international conventions, and nearly for some 40,000 or even 50,000, the number is not quite clear. So this, as I said, that this problem which we have been facing right from independence, and during the 1971 war, almost 1 million, 10 million Bangladeshis, they migrated to India, and for which India, being a poor country, has to spend almost $3 million per day on this 1 crore population who migrated from Bangladesh to India, like refugees. And these refugees, some of them, they returned, and as per one estimate, there are 1.5 crore refugees they remained in India. And during that time, this include both the Hindus and Muslims, and majority are Muslims. And during that time, it is during the 1971 Bangladesh war, it is said that nearly 30 lakh people, they were killed, and even in lakhs, they were, particularly the official Yahya Khan, the army generals, they directed their soldiers in Dhaka, who was under the Lieutenant General Niazi. They were directed to kill the Bangladeshis, and in particularly to choose and kill Hindus and rape Hindu women. And nearly 1 million were killed. And the facts are disputed. And even the scholars, Pakistani scholars, they say that it was 3 lakhs. And the government of Pakistan says that it is 30,000. So, but somewhere the figure may be around 1 million. Because at the time of committing atrocities, nobody will count the, except the dead bodies, nobody will count the persons. So not only this. So what I am saying is that this illegal migration, and now what happened, these Bangladeshis, when they settled in the border states, particularly in Assam, which has changed the demography. The demography of the state of Assam has changed. This is on record. There are cases filed in the Supreme Court. And the government has established the tribunals, the useless tribunals, where the tribunals, they are helping the illegal migrants determination by Tribunals Act 1983. So we know the history that because before discussing the Rohingya crisis a little bit, we should also touch upon this illegal migrants from Bangladesh before this Rohingyas. So there was a lot of history, and even the student union ASU, All Assam Students Union, and Praful Kumar Mahanta in 1980s, they agitated the government for the repatriation of these Bangladeshi migrants, who has changed the demography, and where Earlier, Hindus are majority, they became minority, and they have a lot of influence on the politics. And as usually, we know that some of our politicians, they are more interested in votes, and they allowed these immigrants, they are given the ration cards, they are given all sides of facilities, and ultimately what happened was they started dictating who should be the MLA or who should be the MP in certain constituencies. So after the prolonged struggle by the Assamese Students Union and other organizations, the central government has relented to make a calculation of repatriate, and it is estimated that 1.5 crore, 15 million were settled in a small state like Assam. And the subsequent laws, the Illegal Migrants Determination by Tribunals Act 1983, instead of identifying and putting the burden on the migrants to prove, it has put the burden of proof on the state, and where it became literally impossible. If not impossible, it became very difficult to prove the roots of an illegal migrant, and ultimately the whole project of sending back these illegal immigrants, legal immigrants or refugees or migrants, whatever you may call it, but they are not officially called as citizens of India, but they became citizens of India by the magic of politics. So the politics did all the magic, and the illegal immigrants, they became citizens of India, and which has causing a lot of internal strife and social strife and discontent. And because of the employment, because of the few economic resources, if it is 1,000 or 2,000, that's a different story. But sharing the same thing with millions, it became so difficult. But the native people in Assam, there is a threat that they may become a minority very soon. So this is, and our law, our parliament, the law made by our own parliament miserably failed to send back these refugees. So while this problem is persisting, now for the last couple of years, India has been facing another problem, that is road. Whether India has learned any lessons from its past experiences. So history has very harsh lessons, particularly for the native people, to say the Hindus, because of lack of unity, because of lack of vision, or because of lack of strategy, planning, whatever you may call it. They suffered a lot. And because we heard in the textbooks, we read in the textbooks that this Babar came and he committed atrocities, or Aurangzeb has committed atrocities, he killed these many thousands, that many thousands, and we read in the textbooks. But even as I said that if we don't learn lessons from the harsh lessons which has given to the, which are given in the history will repeat itself. And history has repeated. And in 1989-90, when the Kashmiri Pandits, they were displaced, almost it was more or less like a genocide, and 5 lakh Kashmiri Pandits. And unfortunately, it was not recorded by neither by the state nor by any historian, but this was recorded by none other than Salman Khurshid. Strangely, Salman Khurshid, we know that he is a congressman, he is not a BJP, not an RSS. So he wrote a book that is Kashmir Beyond Terrorism, in which he has delineated all these atrocities on Kashmiri Pandits, that is Hindus. That is, women were raped, they were looted, and so many atrocities has happened, and ultimately they are forced to leave the valley. So why this? What has happened 1191? First time in 1191-92, that was when Muhammad Ghori has invaded on the first battle of Tarain between Prithviraj Chauhan and Muhammad Ghori. And we learned in history that after the battle, first time he lost the battle, and second time Prithviraj Chauhan lost the battle. And once they lost the battle, and all kinds of atrocities were committed. And that is 1191. And this was in 1991. After 900 years, history has repeated in the Kashmir Valley, and the same thing has happened. Now, this time it was the terrorists. At that time, we call them invaders. This time, we call them as terrorists. So the result was the same. The suffering was the same, and the victims were the same. The victims were the same. So we didn't learn the lessons. That's the reason why history has repeated itself after 900 years, and this has been repeating. And now there is one more instance of Rohingyas. This is, I'm not going to, because I'm speaking on facts and figures. So this Bengal and Rakhine, if you look into the history of this Rohingya crisis, so from Bengal and then how this Myanmar and where these people, they were settled, Cox's Bazar, and then ultimately there was some disturbances in Myanmar, and where they went against these Buddhist monks, and then ultimately the state started persecuting these Rohingya Muslims, and they entered into Bangladesh, and from Bangladesh they entered into India. And we have the touts, and I started with the traitors. So there were traitors even in the Indian society who facilitated, who invited these Rohingyas. And surprisingly, if you last year or before last year, I saw in Hyderabad, there was a welcome flexi for Rohingya Muslims. And the government of Telangana took it officially for the resettlement of Rohingya Muslims in Hyderabad. This flexi I have seen with my own eyes. So, okay, if you want to do it, at what cost? Right? I don't say that the Home Minister of Telangana is a traitor, but at what cost we have to, what the nation has to pay tomorrow. So, if you see, for there was a convention. There was a convention of 1951, that is the United Nations Convention on Status of Refugees. So it is quite normal in the sense that because in every society there used to be different groups, political groups or on religious groups, there would be differences, and differences will become disputes, and disputes will become battles, and ultimately the civil war, what we saw in Syria or what we saw in Iraq, what we saw in Afghanistan. So the political strife, because everybody will have, each group will have its own objectives. So when the local population, when they suffer, when they're persecuted because of their religious faith or because of their political affiliation or because of their sex or race or something, then what is the remedy? They will flee their own country and they will enter into the neighboring country. And when these people, they come as refugees, what is the host country? What are the responsibilities? What are the duties? What are the rights of this host country? Whether the host country should accommodate them, is it the responsibility? And because after the emergence of the UNO, all civilized nations, they made certain agreements in the form of conventions, and these conventions has laid down certain responsibilities, rights, duties to all, to the individuals, to the institutions, and also to the member states. So one such convention, it was that United Nations Convention on Status of Refugees, 1951. So if refugees enter into your state, what are your responsibilities and how you have to treat them, and how do you have to process their applications or give them the citizenship, etc., etc. And the most important thing is that India has not ratified this particular convention. That is, any obligations of a member state under this convention, India is not duty bounded to implement the provisions of this convention, because India has not ratified. India is not a party. So whatever the obligations that may arise under this convention, India need not fulfill, India need not respect, because India is not governed by this convention. And also there is another protocol in 1967 that for refugees, protocol is the procedure. Neither convention nor the protocol was ratified by India, and hence we are free from any kind of obligations under this particular convention. So then what is the law? We have the municipal law. Municipal law in the sense that we have the Foreigners Act 1947. So if anyone enters into India without a valid visa, he becomes an illegal immigrant. And in the Foreigners Act, who is an illegal immigrant and who is a foreigner, there are long definitions. And because India is a vast country with porous borders, now and then it is not uncommon that people enter into India. And so because that influx of what I mean to convey is that India is not under any legal obligation to provide food, shelter, and anything, in particular the citizenship. Okay, India may provide food and shelter, but citizenship means the residence. So the argument that was raised is that under Article 21, what is the Article 21 is not restricted only to citizens of India. It is applicable to any person. No person shall be deprived of his life and liberty except according to the procedure established by law. There the phrase used is article, it is the person and not the citizen. So they say that Article 21 is applicable, under which if it is not provided, then it is affecting their right to life. And Section 3 of the Foreigners Act empowers the central government. So when the demand was raised to deport these illegal immigrants, then all these counter points were raised. The matter was raised before the Supreme Court, and none other than Prashant Bhushan, he appeared for these illegal immigrants. And now the question before the Supreme Court is that whether this whether these Rohingya refugees, they should be deported or not. As simple as that. And what is the stand of India legally, where India stands? That's what I would like to discuss. So they have discussed that they have raised the plea that Article 21 and then Article 14, this was also raised. And because when Section 3 was amended, see, just because the subjects are the same, I am discussing both subjects parallelly. CAA, that is Citizenship Amendment Act, where India has provided citizenship only to the persecuted parties like Buddhists, Hindus, Jains, etc., except Muslims. So there they have raised the issue of Article 14 equality. So here also the equality clause was raised as a fundamental right. And seeing they didn't enter into India, they entered into India and they became minorities because they are persecuted there. And here, as per the statements of certain leaders and celebrities, the minorities that are living in fear. And when they are living in fear, why they should come to India only? They can go to some other country. And all these filthy reasons and some Article 14, Article 21, so was also raised before the Supreme Court. See here, we have to remember or recollect, there was a pact, a treaty or an agreement which is called Nehru-Liaquat Pact or Nehru-Liaquat Agreement. That is the first Prime Minister of India and the first Prime Minister of Pakistan. I think in 1949 or 1950, they entered into an agreement, and it imposes a legal obligation on both states, state of Pakistan and state of India, to protect the life and property of the minorities in their respective countries. The sum and substance, of this Nehru Liaquat Pact is that India has issued to Pakistan that it will protect, it will take care of life, liberty, and property of the minorities. That means the Muslims, Christians, etc. Basically, the Muslims. And similarly, the government of Pakistan, the state of Pakistan has assured that it will protect the person's property of the minorities. That means Hindus and Christians who are Pakistanis. They are not Indians. They are Pakistani Hindus, Pakistani Christians, Pakistani Jews, Pakistani Parsis. The government of Pakistan has given assurance to India, and vice versa, government of India has assured Pakistan that it will take care of Indian Muslims, it will take care of Indian Christians, it will take care of Indian Jains, Buddhists, etc., etc. That is under one umbrella as minorities. So that means India has recognized that their Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Parsis, Jains, Buddhists, they are the persecuted minorities in Pakistan. And similarly, Pakistan has recognized that the minorities in India, that is, other than Hindus, they were persecuted. And that's the reason why they have asked for assurance. And both states have given assurance and reassurance to each other. So the present CAA, that is the Citizenship Amendment Act, has its roots in this Nehru Liaquat Agreement. So that is mostly ignored by many people. So coming back to this Rohingya crisis. So these Rohingyas, they want to settle in India. They raised different fundamental rights, right? Article 14, Article 21. And then on the other side of law, what is there? When someone is want to settle, it is under Article 19. Article 19, which guarantees a fundamental right, that there it says that every citizen shall have the right to settle and reside in the territory of India. So, to settle and reside in the territory of India is not a fundamental right guaranteed to illegal immigrants. It is guaranteed only to the citizens of India. So now, if they ask for the guarantee of right to settle and citizenship, means you are asking for the execution of a fundamental right under Article 19, which is guaranteed only to citizens of India. So, Article 21 and Article 14 was countered by Article 19. So, if the illegal immigrants like Rohingyas, if they are to be settled, they are to be given place of settlement or residence, that means it is in violation of Article 51. It is in violation of Article 19. So, this was the legal position of India. And this was ultimately decided by the Supreme Court in Salimullah and Andhra versus Union of India. So where Mr. Prashant Bhushan, the senior advocate, he approached the Supreme Court. So when the government of India, it started taking steps for the deportation of Rohingyas, this Prashant Bhushan, he approached the Supreme Court stating that this is in violation of human rights, this is a violation of this and that. He also discussed invoked Article 14, Article 21. But however, the Supreme Court, and undoubtedly, if under Article 51, Clause C, if I'm right, the Supreme Court has the right, even if India has not ratified any convention, if such convention is in consonance with the municipal laws, the Supreme Court may give directions for not enforcing, but for implementing the such convention, the contents of the such convention. But here, the India has not ratified the convention, but straight away providing shelter for these Rohingyas, it is enforcing or it is recognizing the fundamental right guaranteed for citizens to non-citizens. Got it?
Sir, sorry to disturb you. Actually, we have time limitations, so may I request
Okay,
you
I will
to
conclude.
wind up? Yeah. Next 3-4 minutes, please. Yeah.
Okay, I will conclude it in 2 minutes.
Thank
Okay?
you, sir.
So this is the issue before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has didn't endorse all the arguments of Prashant Bhushan, but however, it has held that a stay was not granted for the deportation, but the court has stated that that is, the state shall follow the procedure. Till then, the deportation is postponed, or it should have followed the procedure for deportation. So the crux is that whether legally speaking, I don't consider that India should allow these Rohingyas. So it is not mere a human problem. Tomorrow it will have a security issue, because already we have the population growth, and I consider that India did not give shelter to these refugees at the earliest. They may be sent back. So the situation is fluid because of the political interest. People are taking sides irrespective of the national interest. So the political interest is dominating the national interest. What is happening today in India? I think so. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, good afternoon. There is a question, sir.
Mhm.
The question is to Professor Surya Prakash.
Mhm.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We agree that the immigration of citizens is a worldwide problem from ancient times. In your opinion, what may be the probable solution for this? By Professor Sudhanshu Dubey. This from.
That is, send them back. Deportation.
And then, sir, there was another chat, sir, by Adya Yadav. She is asking that if NRC comes, will they be thrown out of our country?
It all depends on politics.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, right.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your words of wisdom. Now I hand over the session to Dr. Abhishek Singh Rathod to proceed the session.
Thank you, sir. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker of the session, Dr. A.K. Kapoor. Dr. Kapoor, a former Vice Chancellor of Jivaji University, Gwalior. His research interest covers human population biology, forensics anthropology, cultural biology with emphasis on tribal, Himalayan, and health studies, biological gerontology, neuroanthropology, and human rights. As an anthropologist, he has carried out extensive and intensive fieldwork among tribes, caste, and ethnic groups in the various states and union territories. He has served as a principal investigator and co-PA principal investigator for several research projects funded by ICMR, ICSSR, UGC, HSWRC, University of Delhi, and Linux, Germany. Professor Kapoor has received several awards like Ruchi Award, UGC Research Award, Lifetime Education Award, Vidyaratan Award, Man of the Year Award, Dr. Panchanan Mitra Memorial Lectureship Award for the Asiatic Society, and he has also been the president of section of Anthropological and Behavioral Sciences in the Indian Science Congress Association. So, I like to invite Dr. Kapoor to share his thoughts.
Thank you, Dr. Rathod, for your kind words. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Professor Anand Rajawat, Director, SVIT, Dr. G.S. Naidu, Head Library of the University, and Dr. Saurabh and Dr. Abhishek Rathod as the reporters of the today session, my colleagues, dear students and friends. I have taken the topic. I will be talking on the forensic science at grassroots and assessment, especially for the students of forensic science and the teachers of the university. I want to share my experiences, how we can uplift the status of forensic science in the university, Indian university system. As in the morning, we had one session, first session, a talk by engineer, Professor Patak, and he talked about engineering. Where he ends his engineering, there forensic engineering starts. And then we listen to the second the advocate, the law expert, and we help the law expert taking the final decision. So it means, as a forensic scientist, we are in between the two. We are the center of the two. In the same way, when I define forensic science, or people have defined forensic science, that is the application of all sciences to the court of law in search of truth. Here, when we talk about forensic science, there are four main components in forensic science. The first is human communities, human society, and human beings. The second is technology, methodology, and the types of crime. Now, in forensic science, crime is committed by humans, and humans solve the crime. So it is very interesting, created by humans in all the dimensions of life. And then I say that crime leads to advancement of science. Means here, first, people say the science has developed so far, but I say that different types of crime, so the criminals, they have developed so much. Then we follow them in developing our techniques and methodology to catch them out. When we see the forensic science in India perspective, we know the explosion of population increasing in India. I don't have the data to tell you that how much from 47 onwards the population increased. Now the second is that new technology is also coming up in present day scenario, and the knowledge is also expanding. When all these three are expanding, the forensic science is also expanding in the Indian system. And I would like to share that there are more than 1,000 universities in India, and the universities consist of central universities, where there are 54 state universities, 416 deemed universities, 125 private universities, 361, and institutes of national importance, that comes to 159. It means here in India, when we go through the literature, the Googles, you will find there are 123 forensic science colleges and universities in India, which are sharing their knowledge, they are imparting their knowledge of forensic science to the different students of forensic science. When we see at 2022, there are 53 universities offering forensic science courses, including BSc and MSc. And then when we see the landmarks, because I have seen through that each and every discipline, they have different landmarks. You take any field, science, engineering, law, physics, chemistry, or management, they have landmarks. We depend on the history, the historical dimension of each and every discipline. In the same way in forensic science, first time, it was 1149 in England, the dead body was examined. And then in India, 1849, the first chemical examiners lab was established in Madras Residency. Means here I don't want to go into detail, but in India, CFSL, Center for Forensic Science Laboratory, FSL, State Forensic Science Laboratories, were also opened in India on the basis of types being committed by different people in different parts of India. Because I belong to a university system, I would like to talk from a university point of view. First time in 1950, the University Grant Commission, as everybody knows, the University Grant Commission controls all the universities in India. They give the finance, and everything is decided by the University Grants Commission. And it was discussed at one time in 1950s that forensic science and criminology should be started. But somehow, because of so many limitations, it could not be passed, it could not be started in different university systems. But in 1965, again, Dr. D.S. Kothari, who was the chairperson of UGC, he called the meeting, he called some of the people, and they discussed how to open forensic science and criminology in university system. Then It was the first university was the Sagar in 1959 who started MSc Forensic Science and Criminology, still which is going on till today. Then Madras University in 1983, then Patiala 1974, Punjab University. And in the university also we started certificate course in forensic science in 1968, that was a 1-year course. And then also, because I was associated with forensic science course from 1981, at that time I was a lecturer, assistant professor, then we decided that we should have a MSc course in forensic science, and we could start, and we started or established MSc forensic science in 2015, which is still going on in the university system in Delhi University. Here I want to like to tell you that most of the central state universities, they have not started forensic science. It is the private universities in India in present scenario. They started forensic science, and it has a value. The students are going in private university to join MSc or BSc course in forensic science. That is the achievement in the university system when we talk about a particular discipline. As you know, forensic science is a new discipline as compared to other science or other subjects. When we talk about here, because I go before the in detail dimension or perspective of forensic science, I would like to share with you 2 or 3 important cases of forensic science. In 96-97, Ministry of Home Affairs sent a letter to each and every university in India that they want to start, they will give you, sponsor you with 50 lakhs rupees to start MSc Forensic Science course in your respective university. The interesting part was that because of, as you know, everybody knows, in the university system, politics is there. So many things are there. Out of all these universities, only the Punjab University, Chandigarh, they could start the MSc Forensic Science course. Nowadays, they are known as Institute of Forensic Science in their university, and not a single other university could open, because Ministry of Home Affairs wanted that forensic science should come out as a good discipline in investigation of crime. But somehow it could not. In Delhi University, we also got this letter, but because of who will lead the forensic science course, and there was a problem with the sociologists, anthropologists, law expert, and then social work, and many people were there. So we could not open the forensic science. The other dimension I want to share, because this is, people should know how the government of India was doing good for the forensic science, but it is we could not do anything at that time. Then again, in 1985, because as you know, when the FSL, Forensic Science Laboratories, CFSL laboratories were opening, their director, assistant director, research officers, they were not from the background of forensic science. They were basically from the pure sciences, which is chemistry, biology, so on and so forth. And we tried, because I used to go to Indian Science Congress, we decided we should have a forensic science forum or a session. But somehow, because at the time it was Indian Academy of Forensic Science, we talked to them, that was office in Patiala. And we put some pressure on the Indian Science Congress, with the headquarters at Kolkata. And they listened, and they started the Forensic Science Forum in the Indian Science Congress Association, which is held every year from 3rd January to 7th January, and the PM comes to inaugurate that Indian Science Congress, which is very important for the student of science. And then it went there for 2 or 3 years, because then it was stopped, because the forensic scientists, those who are working at that time, university hardly 4 or 5 universities, the forensic science were there. They did not come to attend or present their work in the Indian Science Congress, in the Forensic Science Forum at that time. So they started Forensic Science Forum in Indian Science Congress Association. And I would like to share, I would like to say that along with us, some other forum was made, like women studies, environmental science, communication, and information science. They are running till date. They have the forum in the Indian Science Congress. They have the session of these subjects, but we have lost forensic science. Here I will suggest the other universities or the other students, they take up this idea so that we can have again in forensic science in the Indian Natural Science Congress. When we see at the in India level, we found that there are in all the states we have or UT or FSL, Forensic Science Laboratory, and then we have a mobile FSL 144. Then we have National Institute of Forensic Science and Technology in New Delhi, and then we have BPR&D. Then we have tooth labs. We have private institutes like Intensive Forensic Science Pune, and then we have Forensic Standard and Research, and many more private groups are coming up in social media because the people are getting aware about forensic science, and I was told, I have not seen myself, but I was told that many programs are coming up in the TV on like forensic or like CID, and people are getting aware about the crime, types of crime, how to solve the crime, how to investigate the crime, means that the impact all the forensic sciences coming up in the society, in different societies. Now here, I would like to give my few observations at the assessment. Because when we talk about forensic science, there is always controversy between pure sciences and applied sciences with reference to jobs of various labs. When you go through the different labs in India, forensic science laboratories or CFSLs or institutes, basically they are appointed from physics background or chemistry or biology, right? But they were asked to do the forensic dimension where they have to take the training. The dilemma is that nowadays in present day, when they try the post of a forensic scientist in any category, they talk about MSc in physics, MSc in chemistry, MSc in zoology, MSc in botany. In very rare cases, they start asking for the MSc in forensic science. When we have the student of forensic science, right, then why we are going after physics, chemistry, biology, zoology, so on and so forth? Because nowadays this science is coming up very nicely, and the students should get a good chance to appear. Because when they advertise the other physics department, physics or physics people or any institute of physics or chemistry, they don't advise for the qualification of MSc in forensic science. So there's a dilemma that we have to take care of all these things. Then other dimension comes as forensic research. In nowadays, the university system, students, they are doing research and they are coming out very good findings of different topics in the case of physics, chemistry, biology, serology, or anthropology. So means that how do we use this upon our knowledge, research findings with whom? It means we have to promote some of our research work. We have to share our thoughts, our work with the forensic science laboratories in India. So there should be exchange program between the two. Otherwise, because what they are doing in laboratories, that is doing on the basis of case to case, right? Whereas in the research industry system, they are doing research and they are publishing their research work. So this is one point where we should focus on to exchange hands between the two so that we know what type of research we are carrying out and what type of they are solving the cases. And means what I want to say is that we have to have FSL and plus academic research. We should combine hands and join hands for the betterment of forensic science. And there should be coordination among universities, FSLs, CFSLs, and institutes so that can help us in getting the better placement, or we can make the placement cells. Like in management, we have the placement cell. But in university system, some of the university they have started, but the impact is not so good because we have to have the placement. How we can do in case our students are going to different FSL or CFSL for training. That is the part of training. But in case we give the placement, because nowadays in present scenario, many institutes are coming up, private institutes are coming up, and then if there's a post in the different laboratories, then those who have taken the training that will be given advantage the student. I'm talking about from the student point of view. Then the other comes here, human resources. Now there is a problem with the government of India. There is a shortage of staff in all the laboratories of India, in state universities, and there's an acute shortage of staff in FSL and other organizations. That I suggest that the government of India should take the initiative to start, because nowadays in present scenario, the government of India has taking or doing the admitting the people on the contractual basis. That is not feasible, because once you are in a contractual position, you are not so serious in carrying out work. I'm very open in this direction, in this manner, so that some permanent jobs are there. Once your permanent job is there, then you will devote time. You are mentally, psychologically very happy, and you can contribute good amount of work in case. Means what I want to say is that we have, as the industries are coming up, we have more supply and demand is less. So we have to see that demand is met on the basis of different dimensions or by the government of India. Here I would like to raise that many reports and plans for Indian forensic science have been made by Ministry of Home Affairs, but no result date. I think that has to be discussed at length at the university system, at the different forensic science meetings or forensic science associations or committees. And then at one time, I still remember it used to come in the newspaper that Ministry of Affairs wants to open the FSL at district level, at a block level, but no movement has been done so far. Mobile dispensary has come out, Truth Lab Private has come out, right? And then when we see the next is the new education policy. In my opinion, when the new education policy has come, each university is going to change as per the new laws of new education policy. So in that way, we will have a new syllabus. What I want to say is that syllabus should be same in all the universities, whether central, state, or private university, so that in case a student joins A university and he wants to go to B university, he can continue with the course. That is very important. That have to sit and discuss some of the things. And then we should have a regular dialogue between forensic scientists and judiciary, because the student should have an interaction with the forensic scientists, medical scientists, and judiciary. Because you see, in the forensic science, there are the three important parts of forensic science. Once you are given a training to the forensic student of forensic science, it will be very easy for him to understand the concept and how to go about, how to solve the cases, how to present the case in the law, in the judiciary system or the law system. So that what I want to say that we should, the university should start types of different types of forensic conclave. What is it? We have decided, we have done in our university 2 conclaves, forensic conclaves, where we invited the forensic scientists, we invited from CFSL, FSL, judiciary, from the line from agencies, and from BPR&D, and we put the students, and we given an open hand to the students to ask question to these gentlemen, those who are expert in the field. And it was a very good discussion by the student, because I have seen in one Indian student, when they are in the class, they don't ask any question. After the class, they don't ask any question. That is the drawback with the student. So what I want to say is that is very important. Then we have, I want to share here one thing, that Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, they have started giving 50 lakhs rupees. Anyone who wants to start any business or industry. So I have noticed that some of the students of forensic science, they have started a private institutes in forensic science in UP, in Delhi, in different parts of India, and they got the amount from Ministry of Micro and Small Industries. Means the government of India is helping, because in forensic science opening 50 lakhs is nothing, because instruments are so expensive, so costly, it takes time. So we have written a letter to the ministry that it should be enhanced to 2 crore rupees to one institute. In that way, the students are opening the forensic science institutes or the private institutes. When we talk about private institutes, I would like to share one important thing, that in India we have Bar Council of India, Medical Council of India, Dental Council of India, Nursing Council of India, Pharmacy Council of India. These are the regulatory bodies made under the Parliament Act. Now we have, the Government of India has made this National Commission for Human Resources for Health. What I want to say is that after completing MSc, the students should be also made, because all these doctor, medical doctor, pharmacists, nurses, dentists, they are given a number so that they can go for a private practice anywhere in India. One dimension. In case you are a lawyer, you are given a number. In case you are a doctor, you are given the registration number, and they are recognized in any field. I want that same approach should be done for students of forensic science after MSc. We should have first a forensic science, what you call commission, or we should have the member of this regulatory body. All those students who complete their MSc and they want to do private practice, they can register themselves, have a number, and they can do private registration. And then they can help the police department, they can help the judicial system. I would like to share here thing that many cases where we will call for analyze for many people, for many work in Indian justice system, we to solve the cases mostly on the handwriting or identifying the signature. But we were never identified, we were never liked by the police department. In case some crime is committed outside, you cannot go and check. You cannot go near the dead body or any evidence, because the police will not allow you to test the scene. You're not allowed to touch any evidence. The point what I want to emphasize is that when you get the certificate or a number, so that you are recognized by the police department, you are recognized by the law reform agencies, many factors. That means we have an independent approach and they can come up. In case, you see, as it is just have a private. So means recognition is very important to the student of forensic science in case you want to go to commit a crime. Then here I would like to, last point, that special provision should be made in police or forensic science, in our army or the forces for forensic science students. As you know that nowadays in present scenario, we have UGC has recognized forensic science. The students are appearing for JRF test, right? But we don't have forensic science in PCS or UPSC that we should write. We have written letter to UPSC, but I want that the Vice Chancellor, Registrar, and the student of university should write to UPSC that it become one of the paper of in UPSC or PCL, because I have seen in most of the UPSC or PCS, every subjects are there, but not forensic science. I think we have to do something for the forensic science also. And then because I have seen from our department, students, those who have done MSc, they have joined revenue police, not on the basis of MSc forensic science, but on the basis of BSc botany honor. But now, when they have solved certain cases in the revenue department on handwriting or many cases or fictitious papers, they have been recognized by revenue department and they given the promotion because they could identify the handwriting because they have studied forensic science and the handwriting, they have done the dissertation. Again, there are many factors, but because of paucity of time, not possible. But I want to say that the students should come out and have a direct action or direct dialogue, as well as the university system should come forward for the welfare of the student, and they should write to the UGC, the PCS, UPSC, all other or BPRD, because they have also good amount of fund. But they said there are no takers. But I want to say that the university should, those who heads of Department of Forensic Science, they should write to BPRD because they have sanctioned a good amount of project to different industries. Thank you very much. Lastly, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to deliver this small talk. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, sir.
Any question?
Sir, there is a chart from Dr. Swati Dubey Mishra. He says that as in India, many institutes are offering forensic science programs, and also many forensic science laboratories are opened. So now, how can we again introduce forensic science forum in ISCA?
Now, in case you want to start, what we did is that they are the president, general president for 1 year in ISCA, Indian Science Congress Association, right? I will suggest here that you should write a letter to the president, number one, right? And then you ask the other forensic science universities where they are being or the heads of department, they should write a letter to the president, copy to the general secretary. And in case, because in 22, this year we are not going to organize because of pandemic. In 23, the Science Congress is to be going in a private university in Pune. The best way, the second approach is that you should, a group should be made and you should meet personally the president. And the president are very open, they will listen to you and they may start. You can give the reference that it was started in 1985. Because there's the main problem with the forensics, the Indian Science Congress is that we open, but the forensic students or the teachers or the forensic scientists, they don't go to attend the from 3rd January to 7th January. It is a fixed date to attend the different session or of the forensic science or any other subject. So in case you give a guarantee to these people that yes, we have so many people are there, so many student, teacher, forensic scientists are there, then they will come. I think I'm very hopeful. In case you try, they will open it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Any
you.
other?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other question?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for sharing your thoughts.
Thank
So
you.
we have Dr. S.S. Prasad Rao as our next speaker. Dr. Rao is a professor at Sharda University. During the 3 decades of his ardent academic career, he played many lead roles and adorned several strategic positions in the current university, as well as the outside the university. He made a considerable contribution to the world of research as a research scholar and as a member and editor of several repute journals. The university professional bodies and the best B schools of India have bestowed upon him numerous honors and awards. I invite you, sir, to share your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. A.S. Rathore. Thank you, Professor Vishal, and I must be thankful to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri Upinder Darji and Santosh Madam, and other organizing members for inviting me for this August gathering. Friends, I wish to share something about the future of higher education, how the higher education is going to be. We have witnessed several challenges so far, from one to one in the ancient world, one to many in the modern world, many to many because of liberalization, now many to one because of the digitization. That is the current scenario happening. Many service providers are there, many sources are there, many resources are there. Unfortunately, targeting only one, that is the learner, that is the student. And friends, and it is going to change the scenario like anything. It is completely technology driven, maybe virtual, maybe hybrid, maybe evidence based, flexible, personalized, skill centered, outcome focused. Beyond that, now people are talking about achievement based education. See, from outcome based to achievement based education. What is the goal of the student? What is the goal of the learner? Whether the learner is achieving the goal or not with this learning, with these courses, with this education system. That is what is major concern now. And also there are three important challenges we need to understand. Number one, we should expect the unexpected, like another pandemic, a sharp economic downturn, a complex political turn to the right or left, something else altogether is likely to occur with unpredictable implications. Earlier, people used to talk about VUCA world. Now they are not talking about VUCA. They are talking something else. Okay, DVOCA D. From there you came to PUP. And now we need to understand that kind of challenges that are going to be there in the near future. And second challenge, threats to existing institutions are hidden all around us. Just a few include certificates, certifications, alternate credentials, and private universities and corporations with substantial brand names that could certainly disclose the higher education, dislocate the higher education landscape like anything. And the third challenge is all reforms have unanticipated or unexpected and often undesirable consequences, even well-intended reforms. The best example for this is promotion of research. Every institute is now focusing more on research because the research only is a source of, creation of knowledge. And most of the accreditations, rankings, etc., are all happening on the basis of knowledge creation, and maybe in the form of patents, publications, and for progress of the universities, education institutions. But in the process, there are so many unwanted things are happening, like Cobra effect in case of publications. There are so many predatory journals have evolved. There is so much money is being lost by the researchers. They are spending a lot of money just for the publication. Then what is the consequences of that? We need to understand. And other challenges include the economic reforms may lead that education will become even more different than the form we are witnessing now. And second challenge is competition within the post-secondary education. See, in the schools only they are teaching coding. They are teaching all technical things. Then what do they learn in the higher education? Means the higher education institution should devise something else. They should not focus just, with hands-on, but there should be something beyond. That is another challenge. And the third major challenge is affordability. Remember, the unsustainable trends will not persist indefinitely. the cost push pressures that underline, tuition fee, etc., are more important. And the last and foremost important thing, pressures for equity will not only persist but strengthen. There are two important concepts here: equality and equity. Equality is, providing common, all that people should provide all that, equally. But equity is more important. Different things to different learners is all about equity. And now there is a call for establishing equity along with equality. And another important thing, because of the digitization, because of the many to one concept, there is an urge towards the experiential learning, even e-learning. That is the major focus. Because e-learning people ignored, to a larger extent, and many are not focused earlier. But now everyone is looking for e-learning, online learning, or distance learning, ODL, open and distance learning courses. Because the NEP also is giving a lot of priority. Up to 40% of the total credits can be obtained through the online certifications. And of course, there is also a challenge. Recently, one of the parliamentarian, mentioning the evil things of the online education being provided by the edutech companies. That should be, of course, kept in mind while subscribing for that kind of services. And most important thing is all about providing experiential learning in e-learning. And that is possible with, gamification, simulations, and scenario analysis. And of course, very, very important thing is social media learning. Many people, even at the student age, they are joining LinkedIn, professional networks, understanding what are the challenges, the industry or whatever is the needed things, and they are understanding, they are appreciating, and also following and meeting the challenges. That way, they are all equipping themselves with the current requirements and meeting their obligations or their needs. So, what I want to communicate here is only one thing: we should be ready and we should be prepared for what all the unforeseen things, and it is going to be good only, and it should be cost effective, and it should be equity. This is what I want to communicate here. Thank you so much for giving such a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Rathore?
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledgeable thoughts. Now, I'd like to invite Dr. Naidu for concluding remarks.
Good afternoon to everybody, sir. And I just want to conclude. Today, we had 4 eminent speakers, and all the 4 persons have given their views or have given their observations, which are very useful for the academic community. And I would like to mention one by one. The first lecture was by Professor K Patak, IIT Banaras, and he talked about engineered affordable houses for all. And the points what he has highlighted are very useful even for a common man. If he is going to construct or he is going to for his own house, how or what areas he should concentrate on, what areas he should check with the builders and other things. And it was very, very useful for the people of for the faculty and students of civil engineering, architecture, and even other people also. And the other lecture was by Professor S. Surya Prakash. He has highlighted the contemporary issues in law while highlighting on immigration laws or illegal migrations and what are the weak issues in the laws of the constitution and how to overcome all those issues. And the third lecture was by Professor A.K. Kapoor, again on forensic science. And he said how the forensic science students or how this subject should be made as a separate subject for study and how they should gain their popularity among all other subjects. And the last one was by Professor S.S. Prasad Rao. He has highlighted the future of higher education in India. What are the issues that the higher education institutions are likely to face in the days to come? And he has also suggested the alternatives, how best you can make your courses so that you can sustain the challenges of the future, the challenges to be posed in future. And these are the 4 remarks. And I thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be the part of this plenary session. Over to Saurabh.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya, I like to thank our speakers, our chairperson, organizers, and audience. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Prasad sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Right.
Kapoor,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Chale, thank you all. Now we
Right,
can
sir.
exit.